what's happening around the world and what's happening here at home. A very good evening to and welcome to Weekend Primetime News. I'm Sandro Ferdinando and here are your headlines for tonight.
Decade of Peace, a national event to commemorate war heroes held under the patronage of President.
මේ ජාත්‍යන්තර ත්‍රස්තවාදී ව්‍යාපාරය අපේ රටේ අතුගා දැමීම සඳහා අපේ රණවිරුවන්ටත් බුද්ධ්‍යංශ වලටත් ශක්තිය තිබෙන බව මා තරයේ විශ්වාස කරනවා.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa issued statement in line with the war heroes commemoration. Active cyber vandalism reported from several .lk and .com domains in Sri Lanka as well as from the Kuwait embassy website. The opposition responds to the statement made by the leader of the House on the Terrorism Act.
First up in News Just In, issuing a press release, Speaker Karu Jayasuriya says that security forces has confirmed that 95% of the terrorist organizations involved in the terror attacks have been destroyed or arrested. In the release, the Speaker commends the Vesak celebrations carried out by the general public without being misled by false information. Therefore, he requests the general public to carry out their daily activities and the education activities of the children without any hesitation. Moving on to local news, the 10th anniversary of the completion of the Decade of Peace, or Dasabarsha Abhishek, is celebrated today to remember the sacrifices made by the war heroes to bring peace to the nation after a 3-decade-long war. This is a tribute by Newsfirst to those patriotic war heroes.
The Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, or the LTTE, rose with the assassination of Alfred Thirayappa, mayor of Jaffna, the first victim of LTTE terrorism, on the 27th of July 1975. The terror of the LTTE, which grew from Black July in 1983, was finally silenced at the Nand, and whole of Sri Lanka was united under one flag on the 18th of May 2009. It was not only the north and east, but also the south and the west, which was battered by the gruesome 3-decade-long war. Sri Lanka was in decline in the face of suicide attacks and many other brutal incidents, intimidation and threats, displacement as well as global pressure. Livelihood was disrupted due to the loss of lives, and barriers were put in place almost every corner. For the past 10 years, the checkpoints in Omanthe and Muhumale became free streets to roam. Years back, the checkpoints and the barriers in the north and the south of the country were removed with hope that the country will never experience such a tragedy again. The Yal Devi train, which connects the north and the south, is a great scene of expression of joy and peace. At the wake of 10 years since one of the greatest humanitarian operations in the world, sadly, our leaders failed to learn from the past. And again, Sri Lanka is compelled to experience roadblocks set up for the sake of national security, manned by the brave men and women of the 3 armed forces and police. Shouldn't the peace brought by the war heroes be carried forward for the generations to come, without allowing minor extremist groups or political extremism to ruin this nation again? We pose this question not in the sense of opposing the government, but because we are with the people and for the people.
The Ranaviru Uttama Pranama ceremony to commemorate the injured and born war heroes was held this evening with the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena. And this was held near the National War Memorial at the Parliament grounds.
This was held to extend gratitude to all war heroes and their families who dedicated lives to win back peace to the nation from the LTTE terrorists. The national ceremony began with the arrival of President Maithripala Sirisena. Religious activities and a minute of silence was observed to commemorate the fallen war heroes.
අපේ ආරක්ෂක කටයුතු වල යෙදී සිටින සියලු නිලධාරීන්ට විවිධ
All the officials and the experts who ensure national security in the country have a responsibility to use their experience in the 30-year war to face something completely different from the war. That is 10 international terrorist organizations. I firmly believe with the victory of the war, our military and the intelligence units have the strength to wipe out these international terrorist organizations from our country.
විශ්වාසයක් ලැබීමට හැකි තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වී තිබෙනවා.
Thereafter, floral tributes were offered to the National War Memorial by the President, politicians and the families of the war heroes.
A special statement was delivered by the opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa today at his official residence in Vijayarama.
On the
10th year celebration on this Victory Day, I'd like to officially announce that war crimes were not committed during the last phase of the war in Sri Lanka. The law of armed conflict is formulated in such a way to fight in a war. I must also mention that Western powers led by America is also instrumental in proceeding with this law. I like to once again state that as per this law, which is upheld by Western powers, no war crimes were committed in Sri Lanka. The opposition leader also spoke about the foreign intervention during the war. We were able to defeat the LTTE terrorism since we opposed to certain influences by various countries. I must mention that the Republican administration in America helped us during the war. America helped us to persuade the European Union to name LTTE as a terrorist organization in 2006. In 2007, we were able to destroy the LTTE's arms smuggling ships in international waters of Australia and Indonesia with the help of receiving information from America. However, their attitudes changed in February 2009 after a new president took over the country. We did not let international pressure affect us and ensured that the war is defeated. During the post-war period, certain countries and local forces prevented us to have peace in the country. From the day we won the war, they kept going back to the past to find fault and keep an uneasy situation by fighting in the country. The fact that we won the war became an issue to some. The fact that China was also helping us became an issue to some.
These are a few views expressed in the political arena regarding the proposed Counter-Terrorism Act.
The Counter-Terrorism Act is not something that was brought forward recently. Its roots go back to the resolution submitted on the 29th of September 2019 in Geneva. Section number 16 of the resolution states that provincial councils should be strengthened and operated efficiently. The tenure of 8 provincial councils have expired. However, the UNHRC does not remember this, and it fails to realize that provincial council elections are not being held. However, they request us to implement this.
Meanwhile, the Sunday Island newspaper reported today that according to Minister of Public Enterprise Lakshman Kirialla, the Prevention of Terrorism Act introduced in 1979 was based on the British model and has been outdated. It adds that the Counter-Terrorism Act was brought forward to replace the outdated Prevention of Terrorism Act. MP Susil Premajanta expressed his views in this regard.
Minister Kirialla is a liar. Even though Minister Kirialla is a lawyer, he will not be aware in this regard if he did not go to courts. He will not be informed in this regard if he did not make submissions under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. If Minister Kirialla had taken advice from the Attorney General, he would not make such false statements. I request Minister Kirialla not to mislead the public. I am disappointed that such a minister currently holds the position of Leader of the House in Parliament.
However, Deputy Leader of the governing party, Minister Sajith Premadasa, expressed the following views recently regarding the Counter-Terrorism Act.
As a nation, we fought a war for 30 years against the LTTE and won the war. The Prevention of Terrorism Act supported this victory from a legal perspective. A new act named Counter-Terrorism Act was then brought forward. However, following the April 21st attacks, we must reconsider this matter. Following the commencement of global terrorism in our country with the April 21st attacks, I believe that the proposed Counter-Terrorism Act should not be brought forward. We must continue with the Prevention of Terrorism Act.
Further ensuring security within our country, the security forces continue to conduct search operations across the island today as well.
The police and army seized 2 swords and 73 outworn RPG boosters wrapped in 2 gunny sacks and abandoned on a canal road in Kaduruvela, Polonnaruwa. Police stated that the items were seized based on a tip-off from locals. Security forces seized approximately 1,000 empty bullet casings under the Karandavila bridge in Dumalasuriya. Police stated that a majority of the empty bullet casings belonged to automatic firearms.
An individual employed at the parliament suspected to be a member of the National Tawheed Jamaat has been arrested following a raid conducted in Kurunegala. He was arrested along with 4 other suspects, and the police stated that the suspects are currently being detained and interrogated. Moving on to more local news, the religious leaders from the Minuwangoda area convened a media briefing today and expressed their views regarding the recent unrest situation.
Considering the events that took place in the recent past, we must state that all communities residing in Minuwangoda, Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims, Malays and Burghers have all lived in peace and happiness. The unfortunate state in our country has become an advantage to terrorists. We must all be united and live in peace and harmony. I urge everyone to be intelligent and use patience as a weapon. We speak of coexistence. Coexistence does not mean to stand by each other. Coexistence means to understand each other in depth. We welcome everyone in Minuwangoda today to join hands in rebuilding humanity. This village cannot be rebuilt with buildings, but with unity and reconciliation among everyone. As Muslims, we faced many difficulties during the past several years due to individuals belonging to Tawheed groups. The Muslim community extends its fullest support to eradicate terrorism in Sri Lanka. I urge politicians to refrain from having ties with individuals belonging to Tawheed groups. Do not tolerate communism. There are many more organizations similar to Tawheed groups. We request intelligence units to look into this. We urge politicians to be vigilant in this regard. Do not tolerate or nourish such organizations in our country.
The police notes that the deputy leader of the Pivithuru Hela Urume, Madhumadava Aravinda, had failed to appear at the Minuwangoda police after he was being notified to be present to provide a statement today. He was notified to be present at the Minuwangoda police to provide a statement following an allegation that he was around the area where a tense situation was reported on the night of the 13th of this month. However, the police said that they are in the process of receiving legal advice to go to court proceedings as Madhumadava Aravinda failed to appear at the Minuwangoda police. Still continuing in local news, a series of cyber attacks have been launched against a number of Sri Lankan websites. The websites of foreign embassy based in Sri Lanka has also been targeted through the cyber attacks.
The Sri Lanka Computer Emergency Readiness Team stated that websites of the Kuwait Embassy in Colombo, the Tea Research Institute in Talawakale, the Rajarata University in Mihintale and 10 private institutions have fallen victim to the cyber attacks. A few websites containing the domain names .com and .lk have been hacked. We have informed these institutions in this regard. There is a survey log that can be obtained from these institutions. These logs include information regarding rights, date and time. These details will help us to conduct further investigations into this matter. The Sri Lanka Computer Emergency Readiness Team, the TechCert and the Cyber Operations Centre operating under the Ministry of Defence are conducting further investigations in this regard. The CEO of TechCert, Dileepa Latsara, stated that many of the affected websites have already been restored to their previous condition. He added that the cyber attacks targeted several vulnerable websites equipped with minimum cyber security measures. TechCert urges the general public to focus on the security of their websites.
Speaking to Newsfirst, senior banker Rusirpala Tennakon says the returning of Sri Lanka's Employees Provident Fund to the Colombo Stock Exchange is an unwise move.
Quoting stock market analysts, the island newspaper reported that the decision was taken as the IMF's optimism on the country's economic growth potential for 2019 gave out some positive signals for the market. One of the main reasons showed by the analysts for the EPF entering the secondary stock market was due to the market currently being at a 7-year low following a market crash after the April 21st attacks.
It is unwise and not prudent to invest monies belonging to the workers of this country in a risky investment in the share market in the present situation. An investment in the share market cannot be guaranteed under the present circumstances because of the instability of the economy prevailing as it prevails today.
The Employees Provident Fund consists of money contributed by employees of both private and the public sector of the country. As at the 31st of December 2017, the number of active members in the EPF stood at 2.63 million with a net worth of 2,066.299 billion rupees. It is common knowledge that the EPF funds do not belong to the government, but to the people, to fund their retirement after years of hard and dedicated work. However, instances where the fund was directly or indirectly unduly influenced were brought to the limelight during the past decade. According to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry, the EPF is estimated to have lost in excess of 8,500 million rupees due to the central bank bond scam. Despite those responsible for the scam were revealed by the Commission, zero action has been taken and the perpetrators have not been brought before the law. The hard-earned money of the general public was also defrauded through pumping and dumping scandal in the stock exchange during the tenure of the present government as well as the Rajapaksa regime. Against such a backdrop, is it appropriate to invest the funds of the EPF in the Colombo stock market once again?
Up next is our Voice of the People segment.
Farmers have been severely affected due to a disease that is spreading across pumpkin cultivations in Mahavilachia and Radhapura. Our correspondent said over 1,000 farmers have been affected by this.
We are confused as to why our crops were affected. We don't know whether it's the fertilizer or seeds we use for the crops.
Farmers stated that they are facing financial difficulties due to the loans obtained for cultivation activities.
It is with great difficulty that we purchase raw materials for our cultivation. We pawn everything we have. I have mortgaged a plot of land to purchase seeds for my pumpkin cultivation.
Farmers in the Ampara district charge that they have not received compensation for the cultivation that was destroyed by the Sena caterpillar menace. They further stated that 200 farmers only got compensation on the 10th of March from the minister. However, they have been accused of failing to pay compensation to other farmers.
Farmers live by farming. People are facing issues because they are in debt. People don't have freedom to walk or talk to someone because they are in debt to shops. No one came to look into this matter. During a short period of time, the officials in the agricultural sector carried out survey activities and provided estimates. 3 months ago, the minister came to the district secretariat office and gave compensation to at least 100 people. At that time, he told that the rest of the compensation money was deposited to the individual accounts and that we can check it now. But until this day, not a single cent was given.
The Ampara district was highly affected by the Sena caterpillar menace. It is stated that over 12,000 acres of land have been destroyed due to this. The farmers request the officials to take immediate action in this regard.
And with that, we wrap up news for tonight. Do take care and good night.